Welcome to Learning English. Prepare yourselves, because this story is an exciting adventure. Let the narrative unfold. It was summertime in the Texas Hill Country, an area renowned for its beautiful hills and rivers. People often visited to enjoy the natural scenery. On this particular day, preparations were underway for a festive time. Families planned outdoor meals, and children at summer camps anticipated games and swimming. In the towns, residents were getting ready for the 4th of July celebrations. It was set to be a special day of fun and relaxation. However, the peaceful atmosphere was abruptly shattered. The weather changed rapidly that night. What began as rain quickly escalated into a massive storm. It was a powerful tempest that unleashed immense amounts of rain, which fell for many hours over the same location. This relentless downpour caused a terrible flood. The land, which had been very dry, could not absorb the deluge of water. Runoff cascaded down the hills with great speed, surging towards the rivers. The Guadalupe River, typically calm, transformed into a massive, raging torrent of water. The river's level rose dramatically in a very short period. The floodwaters spread everywhere with astonishing speed, inundating homes all along the riverbank. Many houses near the river were either destroyed or completely washed away. A summer camp for girls situated next to the river was also hit with devastating force. Its buildings swept away by the current. It was a profoundly sad and frightening event. People were suddenly cast into grave danger, and some did not survive. Numerous people were lost, prompting extensive searches for them, including the young girls from the summer camp. It was a disaster that struck with incredible speed, unfolding in just a few hours. Residents were unprepared for water that rose so high and so quickly. It remains one of the worst floods in the region's history. This is the beginning of the story of that flood. It will delve deeper into the storm and the reasons for its immense power. It will share the personal accounts of those who lived through it and the rescue teams who fought to save them. The narrative will also explore the collaborative efforts of volunteers and the government. Finally, we will consider why such powerful storms might be occurring more frequently today. The massive rainstorm originated from the remnants of Tropical Storm Barry, which had been over Mexico. The storm system carried a large volume of moist air northward into Texas. This humid air collided with a very slow-moving high-pressure system situated over the state. The convergence of these two air systems created powerful rain clouds. These clouds behaved unusually. They did not disperse quickly. Meteorologists refer to this phenomenon as a training storm. It occurs when new thunderstorms continuously form over the same area, one after another, much like the cars of a train. The storm clouds remained stationary for many hours, repeatedly dropping heavy rain on the same stretch of land. This is unlike a typical thunderstorm, which usually passes in a short amount of time. An immense quantity of rain fell on the Texas Hill Country during this event. It's estimated at over 1.8 trillion gallons. To put that in perspective, it's enough water to fill approximately 2.7 million large swimming pools. This colossal volume of water fell in a very short period. In one location, over 18 inches of rain were recorded in less than 24 hours. Rainfall was not only heavy, but also incredibly rapid. In the town of Hext, 3.25 inches of rain fell in a single hour. At Brady Creek, 5.35 inches fell in 2 hours. The National Weather Service warned that this rate of rainfall could cause life-threatening floods. The atmosphere itself was laden with moisture. Experts measured it and found that the moisture levels were among the highest ever recorded for the area. The Gulf of Mexico was also warmer than usual, sending more water vapor into the sky, which intensified the storm and increased its water-carrying capacity. Furthermore, the air over Texas was very hot before the storm. It's creating an atmosphere primed for the formation of large, powerful thunderstorms. Prior to the storm, the ground in Texas was exceptionally dry due to a prolonged period of little rain known as a drought. This rendered the soil hard and compacted, much like baked earth. This hardened ground could not absorb the sudden heavy downpour. With nowhere to seep into the soil, the water remained on the surface and began to run off at high speed. This is known as runoff flooding. The topography of the hill country exacerbated the situation. The area is characterized by numerous hills with steep sides and narrow valleys. Water rushed swiftly down the steep hillsides, funneling into the rivers and creeks in the valleys below. The rivers, particularly the Guadalupe River, filled up with this runoff at an extreme rate. The storm hovered over the area for nearly 8 hours. This extended period of heavy rain, combined with the dry ground unable to absorb water and the landscape that channeled it into the rivers, created the perfect conditions for a massive and dangerous flood. Weather forecasters struggled to predict this storm because it did not move as anticipated. It remained stationary due to weak high-altitude winds near the edge of the slow-moving, high-pressure system. The flood was about more than just water. It was about the people who experienced it. Their stories illustrate how quickly life can change. Erin Burgess, who lived near the river, was awakened by heavy rain. Within just 20 minutes, her house was filling with water. She and her 19-year-old son found themselves floating inside. They managed to cling to a tree outside their home as her boyfriend and dog were swept away by the current. Erin credits her tall son with saving her life by allowing her to hold on. To him, she is haunted by the memory of watching her boyfriend and dog disappear. It's uncertain of their fate. Maria and Philippe Tapia also lived by the river. Their home filled with water in about 10 minutes. They attempted to escape in their truck, but it became stuck. They had to abandon the vehicle and swim to a neighbor's house on higher ground. Philippe described the experience as feeling like swimming underneath a river. They escaped just in time, with no opportunity to salvage any of their belongings. The stories from the summer camp are especially tragic. It was a Christian camp for girls located beside the river. Many of its buildings were destroyed. Search began for numerous missing girls, including 9-year-olds Janie Hunt and Lainey Landry. Their mothers anxiously awaited news. Parents gathered at a local school, watching as rescued children arrived by bus and helicopter. One father, waiting for his 10-year-old and 8-year-old daughters, remarked, "You can't be ready for something like this." Local residents also witnessed the terrible devastation. Kerrville police officer Jonathan Lamb described it as the worst flood he had seen in over a decade. Businesses near the river, such as Howdy's restaurant, were inundated with water and transformed into helicopter landing zones for the rescue efforts. Amid the disaster, there were also stories of bravery. Game wardens and local citizens with boats worked tirelessly to rescue many people from the treacherous waters. These personal accounts reveal the fear, loss, and resilience of the people during the Great Flood. Camp Mystic was a summer destination for young girls. A Christian camp situated beside the scenic Guadalupe River for over 80 years. Girls aged 6 to 16 had come here for summer activities. The camp featured numerous cabins and other structures close to the water's edge. While this location was idyllic most of the time, perfect for swimming and river recreation, it placed the camp in a perilous position when the river rose rapidly. On the night of the massive storm, approximately 400 girls and numerous camp staff were asleep. They were unaware of the sheer volume of rain falling or the speed at which the river was rising. The floodwaters surged into the campgrounds with incredible swiftness under the cover of darkness, rising much faster than anyone could have imagined. There was little time to evacuate to higher ground. The camp's emergency plans were not designed for a flood of this magnitude and speed. The powerful floodwaters struck the camp buildings with immense force. It was a potent display of nature's power. Many structures, particularly the wooden cabins near the river, were completely demolished, torn apart, and carried away by the churning water. The main lodge, a large gathering and dining hall, was also lost. What was once a joyous summer camp was now a scene of utter devastation. It was filled with wood and mud. In the aftermath, a search began for everyone who had been at the camp. It soon became apparent that many young girls were missing. Locating them was a difficult and somber task. Search teams scoured the area, looking in the water, in trees along the river, and far downstream. The river was choked with debris from the camp, making the search hazardous. Teams utilized boats and helicopters to survey the area. Families with daughters at Camp Mystic endured agonizing waits for news, praying their children would be found safe. The story of the missing girls from Camp Mystic became one of the most heartbreaking aspects of the flood. highlighting nature's power to turn a place of happiness into one of tragedy. Following the flood, a massive rescue effort was launched, involving a collaboration of many different agencies: the local sheriff's office, the Texas Military's National Guard, and other groups like the Texas Game Wardens and the Houston Fire Department all converged to help. The U.S. Coast Guard also dispatched teams. It was a large-scale operation with hundreds of personnel. However, the rescue work was extremely challenging. The terrain was difficult, with hills and swift-moving water making some areas inaccessible. Furthermore, extensive damage to phone lines and cell towers severely hampered communication, making coordination between rescue teams difficult. Searching for people in the fast, debris-filled water and among the wreckage of buildings was dangerous work. Game wardens and other first responders demonstrated immense bravery, risking their own lives. Helicopters scanned the flooded landscape. For survivors on rooftops or in trees, support centers were established for those who were rescued. Ingram Elementary School became a reunification center for families, while a Walmart in Kerrville was used as a shelter for displaced residents. Medical teams were on standby to assist the injured and traumatized. Over 500 people from various organizations worked together, utilizing 14 helicopters and 12 drones in the search. The effort continued around the clock, a long and arduous rescue operation in the Texas Hill Country. After the flood, various levels of government, federal, state, and local, began to provide assistance. The federal government in Washington, D.C., acknowledged the disaster, with the president pledging federal support and the White House contacting Texas leaders. However, FEMA, the Federal Disaster Relief Agency, was reportedly operating with reduced funding and staff. The Texas state government acted swiftly. Governor Greg Abbott issued a disaster declaration for 14 counties, which expedited state aid. The state committed all available resources to the response, including personnel from the Texas National Guard for rescues and supply distribution. Despite these efforts, the scale of the problem was immense. Local leaders were overwhelmed. Kerr County Judge Rob Kelly admitted that local officials were unaware of how severe the flood would be, lacked an adequate warning system for such an event. The mayor of Kerrville, Dalton Rice, echoed this sentiment, stating they could not have anticipated something so catastrophic. Their emergency plans were insufficient for a flood of this scale. Even with state and federal aid, local communities faced enormous challenges, including damaged roads, poor communication, and a vast number of people in need. The Great Flood caused extensive damage, not just to homes but also to the region's critical infrastructure. This severely complicated life for those who remained or returned. Many roads were submerged or completely washed away, including major highways, which halted travel and made it difficult for people to access help or supplies. Rural roads were also destroyed, isolating some families. Bridges spanning the river were damaged or destroyed by the powerful current, severing transportation routes. Repairing them would be a lengthy and costly process. The flood also disrupted essential services. Downed power lines left many without electricity. Water systems were compromised, creating a shortage of clean drinking water. Phone service was also unreliable due to damaged cell towers, making it hard for people to call for help or contact family. Local businesses, especially those near the river, were inundated with water and mud, forcing them to close. Farmers suffered losses to their fields and crops. Schools were also damaged, delaying the return of students. The damage was widespread, demonstrating how vulnerable our daily infrastructure is to severe weather. Rebuilding the roads, bridges, and services would take months, if not years, and require significant resources. The devastating Texas flood prompted many to question why such extreme weather events occur. Climate scientists suggest that our world's climate is changing. It's primarily due to global warming driven by human activities like burning fossil fuels. This warming trend impacts weather patterns globally. One significant effect is that warmer air can hold more moisture. Additionally, warming oceans contribute more water vapor to the atmosphere, Consequently, when storms form, they can absorb more water, leading to much heavier rainfall and more severe floods when they make landfall. In Texas, the preceding drought created hard, dry ground that could not absorb the sudden massive rainfall. The water ran off rapidly into the rivers, causing them to swell to catastrophic levels. Experts are observing a pattern of weather extremes. Long periods of drought followed by sudden extreme rainfall. These dramatic swings from very dry to very wet conditions appear to be increasingly common. This flood serves as a crucial lesson for the future. We must prepare for this changing weather. Communities vulnerable to droughts and floods need robust plans to protect people and property. This involves building stronger infrastructure, implementing effective warning systems, and fostering community resilience. What can people do to stay safe during major storms? Thank you for following this story to the end. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss our next one. Have a wonderful day. Take care, and see you next time.